But if you hang with me here for a few minutes, I'll show you a plant that if you've got a gerbil or a hamster at home, you might want to put up a caution sign. It can get that large. We're going to talk again about one of our carnivorous plants here. And when you think of carnivorous plants, you're probably thinking of those smaller plants that will reach out and or attract a gnat or a fruit fly. Venus flytrap, as a matter of fact, will get a fly. Sometimes something as big as a bee. But if you hang with me here for a few minutes, I'll show you a plant that if you've got a gerbil or a hamster at home, you might want to put up a caution sign. It can get that large. Hi, my name is Kim. I'm from the Tye-Dyed plant team, and today we're going to be talking about one of our carnivorous plants that is a little different from the others. It is a Nepenthes, also known as a pitcher plant for obvious reasons. You can see it does have a little pitcher hanging in here, which is what is going to be the mechanism for catching its food. The animals that will go in here, which generally speaking are smaller bugs, will get attracted to the digestive juices that are in the bottom of the pitcher. They'll get to the edge of the pitcher and two things will happen. Number one, it will start to slide into the pitcher, and then secondly, once it gets there, the stickiness will hold on to it and the digestive juices will start their action. This is not necessarily one of those plants for the beginner. It does take a little bit of patience and a little bit of knowledge, and I'll start off with the watering basis. Watering, it's not going to take tap water. It's going to take RO water, that reverse osmosis water. It's going to take distilled water. It's going to take perhaps rainwater. But if you're going to use tap water, the salts and some of the chemistry that are in the natural tap water are not going to be healthy for this plant, and over a prolonged period of time, you're going to wind up killing it. So watering it, make sure it is always damp, evenly damp. We don't want it really sitting in a puddle of water, but we want to make sure that it's damp almost as if you were to squeeze a sponge and just have a good amount of residual dampness in there. So be careful with your watering. From a soil perspective, generally speaking, we talk about soil for our plants. This is not a soil plant. We're talking about keeping away from things like your normal potting soil. And the reasons for that is because potting soil has nutrients that are built into it. As I said, this is a carnivorous plant. That's where it gets its nutrients. It doesn't need any help from the outside. It doesn't need fertilizer. It doesn't need potting soil, which has some nutrients in it. Those kind of nutrients also will kill it. So when we're talking about our soil, and it's a little bit difficult to see here, we're looking at a combination of sphagnum, which will help retain some of that moisture, nice and spongy. We're also talking about a little bit of perlite, and we've talked about our perlite before. That will help keep things well drained. And given the opportunity, if you have some smaller pieces of bark, that will also keep things airy. We're not using dirt, we're not using soil. That's going to be very, very harmful to your Nepenthes. From a light perspective, bright, indirect light, and it likes lots of bright, indirect light. 10 to 14 hours a day. Now, depending upon the time of year, depending upon your location, you may not be able to fulfill that requirement from Mother Nature. So as we get into the winter time of year, if you're really going to want to have a nice, healthy Nepenthes, you're probably going to want to get an LED grow light to help supplement some of that light requirement. Temperatures, 65 to 85. It is a tropical plant. It's native to Southeast Asia, so it likes the warmth. Humidity likes humidity. You can go ahead and mist it, even though you might think that might be hurting the pitchers. It's not going to hurt the pitchers at all. Pebble tray with water in it works very, very well. A humidifier. This is a great plant actually for putting or keeping in the bathroom where you might have a lot of moisture just from the natural use or the normal use of showers or sinks or whatever it is. There's always seems to be moisture in the air. So That's what you need to do from a humidity point of view. Likes high humidity, anywhere from the 55 to 65%, maybe even 70% humidity. It is not toxic. Now, you might think it is toxic because it's got those digestive juices, but those are going to be harmful to the little bugs and gnats and things that it's getting into the pitcher. It's not going to be harmful to any of the pets or any of your children. We want to take a look here at one of our pitchers, which is starting to die off. You can see that's a little bit brown, and that is absolutely natural, absolutely normal. These pitchers will last maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 months, and then they will start to die off. Once they die off totally, completely brown, very crispy, it's time to go ahead and cut them off. And the way you would do that is you would cut off right at the base of the leaf. Don't cut off just above the cup itself, but just come up to the base of the leaf, go ahead and clip, and this plant will naturally go ahead and reproduce its own pitchers. So that's one thing that you might take into consideration. It really is a pretty plant. It's a very unique plant. It does take a little bit of care. Again, be careful with your watering, be careful with your soil, and be careful with making sure you have enough light and enough brightness in this. Now, I said that it's something you need to be watching about in terms of its size. It is native, as I said, to Southeast Asia, and in its natural environment, it can get relatively large. Now, in our shop, where we have our plant of the week, right above that plant of the week area, we do have some Nepenthes that are not for sale that have been growing for a while. Many times when you talk about the size of a plant, you can say, well, it's going to be about 6 inches wide and maybe 18 inches tall. This will just grow and grow and grow. It's a viney plant, so it can get relatively large. A little bit hard to say how big it will get. It's how big you will let it get. We're going to take a walk over to the other side of the shop now and take a look at one of our houseplants that we have of the Nepenthes. You can see how large it is getting, and you can see how this cup is going to start to grow with it as well. We're just going to walk to the other side of the shop now. So here we are in our plant of the week area, and you can see this Nepenthes is really growing quite heartily, quite aggressively. And we talked about the small size of the pictures that we had on the ones that are plant of the week. Here you can see they are growing and growing. And this is a good example too, where you can see it's got a little lid on the pitcher. Now that pitcher, unlike a Venus flytrap, is not going to go and close. Just the insects are going to go ahead and they're going to get inside and fall. And this will take a little larger insect. Now at home, if you happen to have this in an area where you don't have a lot of insects, you can feed it artificially. You can feed it some dried mealworms or perhaps a cricket maybe once every month or so. Usually it will take care of itself. Now the kicker here is, again, in its native environment, these pictures, you can see this is many times larger than the small one that we showed you just a little while ago. But those pictures can get as large as this cup. So that pitcher can get significantly larger, which, as I said, in Mother Nature, if you should have a wild rodent out there getting near one of these big pitcher plants that are located there in Southeast Asia, it can have just a very, very bad ending to its day. It's a great plant to play with at home, just takes a little bit of expertise. It is our plant of the week, the Nepenthes pitcher plant, here at Tye-Dyed Iguana in your little house of horrors.